Welcome back to another episode of the Entry for One podcast. I'm your host, Jose Hernandez, and on this episode, we will be reviewing and discussing Ant-Man and the Wasp, directed by Peyton Reed, and talking about the future of the MCU. On this episode, we're joined by Andrew Villado,
Hey, hey.
as well as Aaron Cruz.
Yo, what up, bro?
So Ant-Man and the Wasp is about Hope Van Dyne, who is Wasp, as well as Dr. Hank Pym, who played by Michael Douglas, trying to save the mom and wife from the quantum realm. She got stuck there during a mission that she was doing along Dr. Hank back in the day, figuring out that Paul Rudd's character, Scott Lang, was able to make it out of the quantum realm. They find that he's the best one fit for that job, and that's where this movie takes off from.
Mm.
We'll start off with the review portion. Since it's been a while since you've been on here, Andrew, what'd you think?
Um, I thought it was a decent movie. Um, I didn't think it was as good as the first one. A lot of the jokes didn't hit for me, and they did a little bit sometimes, but it wasn't as funny as the first movie. I had to say. I think everybody did very good in that movie, and the story wasn't like I wasn't super big on it. Your typical rescue mission, but your protagonist is the guy that doesn't. Your protagonist is the guy that doesn't think about himself first. He always helps everybody before he helps himself, even though in the movie he needs to help himself. But I don't know. I thought it was a good story and everything. It just didn't feel as fun as the first movie.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
just not as complex, I think. It's more of a linear storyline, which for the most part you can tell where it's kind of going.
Yeah, I love the ending after the pre-call credits.
Okay, so the post credit scenes.
Yeah, post credit scenes was nice. That just the first one.
What do you think, Cruz?
So, it was a lot different from the first one, obviously, but Paul Rudd, I like how his comic relief is always perfect. I like how how do you Evangela Lily? How do you say that? Anyways, Wasp girl. Like I like
Mhm.
how she had more of a role, really easy to talk to. This movie.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I like the comedy. It was just the right combination of comedy and action.
With the movie, I know you did mention the comedy, and do you think it's too much sometimes?
I mean, we're talking about different universes, I've read a couple reviews for some other people, like comments and stuff, saying, well, it's too funny, but we're talking about different universes. We're talking about a character that gets down to an ant size, there's something funny about it. He's gonna run into things that us normal people can't like fathom. So I think the comic relief just makes it like, that's his character. He just makes it more relatable because we relate to him, taking a comic standpoint towards it. So, I mean, I think it was okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think I this movie, for one, I didn't watch the first one. That's probably one of the few Marvel movies other than like the Thor: The Dark World that I haven't seen, and it's just because it never really interested me. And this one here, I think it symbolizes a lot of what the MCU is at a lower tier as far as how the entire movie came together. I think
Mm.
it has a lot of comedy. I think more than it needed. The characters, I think the one that contributes the most would be Wasp's character, and then Paul Rudd as well. I think it was a pretty good team up between the two, and they balanced very well within each other. You didn't. I personally didn't really see Ant Man was downgraded and then Wasp was upgraded as far as power leveling. I think they did a well job balancing the two.
Mhm.
But I think the story. I mean, I think it was very basic. The acting, it's fine. I don't think this movie's all that very special. To me, what does stand out is the effects. As far as I think it's very cool when Ant-Man, goes from a small, normal size to tiny size or giant size,
Yeah.
and then the
Mhm.
action sequences with Wasp when she it's in the trailer, so it's
Kicks
not a
ass.
spoiler, but when
Yeah.
she's flying around and then she wall runs
She's
along the knife that gets thrown at her.
yeah. It was a
That
kitchen
was
scene.
that was very cool.
Hmm.
But I think it does suffer even sometimes with the action. The way Marvel likes to shoot their action, it's so close to the actual characters
Hmm.
that you can't fully consume the entire fight sequence. They shoot so close to the character. Like a huge example and issue was just not to veer off too much, but like in Civil War when there was a fight sequence in a staircase and everything was just so claustrophobic, as far as you just really can't see what's going on, and I think you see that in this movie. Um, Out of all the MCU Marvel movies that we gotten this year, I think this one's definitely the one at the bottom of the list. It feels like everything an MCU formula would have in a movie, just at a lower tier. I thought it was fine. I didn't find it to be very special. Um, I think they wasted some actors, or a specific one would be Walter Goggins. I don't really
Yeah.
watch a lot of trailers just because nowadays they kind of
Spoil it.
spoil a whole lot. So when I saw him in this movie, I was quite surprised, and then I think they kind of wasted his character. But we'll talk about it more in the discussion. But I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was any. I didn't think it was very special. Other than some of the action sequences we got, it was cool. Before the spoiler section, did y'all want to mention anything else?
I mean, how do you think? I mean, do you think it was like a good side story to the Marvel universe? Do you think it's gonna have a big impact?
So that's the thing. The way they kind of marketed this movie and kind of promoted it and what they made it seem like could have just been marketing, but the way they established it was it was going to show where Ant-Man was during the entire Infinity War storyline or
Hmm.
moment,
Yeah.
and they honestly they don't ever mention it. They don't get he spends a lot of time in his home, and not for one scene do they show breaking news, you know, New York or whatever they're setting it in is under attack by Thanos.
Yeah.
He's just under house arrest, and to me, if that's the explanation why he wasn't there, I think that's kind of weak because it obviously shows in the movie that he's capable of tricking them to thinking he's still at home during this house arrest.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't think it's honestly gonna play a big part if he's. We'll talk about it in the spoiler section where they show us in the post credit scene. I don't think this movie. Sure, it kind of puts his specific character in a certain scenario, but I
Yeah.
don't think they did a good job really tying it into the current scenario the other characters other than him are currently in.
Hmm.
It's gonna be interesting just because obviously Marvel is known for how well they're good at tying in stuff.
They're
So
tying things
yeah,
together. Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Andrew or Cruz?
Got anything, Andrew?
Uh, yeah. I think they should have done something with just Ant-Man. I know the first one was like an Ant-Man film, but this one was just more of like a filler. I'd feel
Mm-hmm.
just to keep just so people can watch the ending to keep the hype.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm pretty sure that's maybe not what they were going for, but that's what I feel like it was, just a filler, like a filler episode.
That's
Um,
exactly what it felt like.
yeah, it didn't really do much to the main Marvel universes like the Thor movie did. The things that progressed the story to the main event. I think this was just to keep the hype and just to be an entertaining piece. And it wasn't too bad. I was pretty entertained the whole movie. There wasn't
Yeah,
too
exactly.
many parts where I felt short from. Like I got it all. That there was a lot of comedic relief. It was funny. I mean, the whole movie fit Ant-Man's character. Yeah, I don't know. Just thought it was a fun filler.
And, sometimes we got to remind ourselves we're not in a DC universe here, gentlemen.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to keep things light, and I think that's what Ant-Man is holding true to. I mean, because these are comic books that we're
Yeah.
making into movies. There's got to be some funny shit in here to keep people like hooked, and I think Paul Rudd really does a good job of portraying that character. I mean, we just got done seeing a whole bunch of people die. We're all kind of shell shocked, losing a lot of our favorite people.
Mm-hmm.
And like with Ant-Man to be released, I mean, it kind of reminded us, hey, some things can happen. Like, things can change so fast for the positive. So, I mean, that's what I'm hoping. This is what I take from that. And I was entertained. I enjoyed every minute of the movie. And it was a good continuation of his story. But, Ant-Man was never a true Avenger. He did a favor for Cap. He went about doing his own thing. His most important thing in his life is his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not going to get called out to do some stuff he doesn't believe in. And even then, he would have lost, Evangel Lily. I always forget her name, but he would have lost her if he doing that for Captain America, which was going to go fight those the other Avengers, and he didn't want to do that again. So he doesn't want to get mixed up into all this Avenger stuff. It's not him yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure something can change that will maybe get him more vested into what's going to happen, because obviously we just saw at that ending, not to spoil anything, but some stuff happens towards the end.
Yeah.
So it might be the thing he needs to get more involved.
Yeah, I mean, there can obviously be a big debate. There already is of whether Marvel has too much comedy in their movies. I think there is, and I think it does a very good job ruining the stakes in some certain moments in a lot of movies, even in Infinity War, and then it just carries over throughout this entire movie in Ant-Man. There's obviously a place for comedy. I just think Marvel does too much of it, but I think they realize that people think that when a movie is funny, it results in a positive reaction as far as ratings and how lighthearted their movies tend to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's just kind of preference there, but I think it kind of ruins their movies. But yeah, it was definitely a filler episode. Felt like one, just to keep the hype for next year, considering they don't really have any other MCU movies coming out this year other than or not but Venom, and actually Venom will be the only Marvel movie left this year.
Sure.
But it's obviously not in the MCU. And we'll have to wait till next year for Captain Marvel and Infinity War Part 2. But yeah, it was fine.
I feel like if you saw the first one, you would have liked the second one just a little more.
Yeah, and that's what I did.
And like I wasn't interested in the first one either, but I watched it anyways, and I ended up really liking it because I don't know, it just felt really good as a movie.
I just feel like people give this movie a really hard, like a hard knock. Like, I don't know. I enjoyed myself, and I think the story's still good. Like, I don't understand. I don't know.
Not sure. I don't know. His character just is very. He's cool for the very, no pun intended, small things he does. As far as his power set is pretty cool. I don't know. It's just very uninteresting. But I'll check it out eventually. Maybe when it's somewhere just on. We'll see.
Yeah.
Probably never. But yeah. Would y'all recommend it?
Oh yeah, definitely. If you've seen the first one, check it out.
Yeah, I would recommend it. Definitely if you've seen the first one.
I give it five popcorn boxes.
5 popcorn boxes out of what?
Out of 10. Out of 10. No, I'm just kidding. No, out of 5. Out of 5.
5 out of 5. Wow.
Dude, it was a good movie. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I
Interesting.
got
I will
I got
give
my
it a
tickets
rating,
list.
but it's fine. If you wanted to check it out, obviously check it out, but
Yeah.
um you could wait on it. I'll put it that way. That's how I feel on it. Um
Salty.
so other than that, we'll get into the spoiler section. What'd y'all think about Ghost and her kind of motivation that because she's basically about to die,
Hmm.
she needs to steal the quantum technology from Ant-Man and the Wasp. And it kind of creates this good versus good slash evil.
I honestly didn't like her character at all.
Okay.
That might be the one thing that like threw me off. I I just didn't. I don't know. She doesn't feel important, honestly, and I felt like she was more of a nuisance to the storyline.
Oh
Even
yeah.
though she's got her own little backstory, I just didn't feel like it was important enough to infiltrate this movie. I think it was just there just to be there. For me personally, it was just there to just to be there. I
So
don't
do you
know.
think Walter Goggins' character would have been a better main villain in this movie, or
Yeah, I felt like
how
if
could
they
they have
wouldn't.
improved her villain motivation?
Well, no, it's just I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. I don't feel like she was a good villain. I mean, she obviously. This is we're spoiling now, right?
And she might not even be a villain in the next one.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, they're helping her out and everything like that now. Like, they're all buddy buddy. So it's just like, what was the whole point of that when she could have got off her high horse and asked for help after they, got his wife back? She was like crunched for time, but they said she had like a couple weeks, and this
Hmm.
event took place in like 2 days. It felt like. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's kind of some lazy writing.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
the villains were definitely very interesting, and Lawrence Fishburne's character, which ends up being up on her
Perry,
side. Um,
Perry from Superman,
yeah,
yeah,
and
the editor,
the Matrix
and Morpheus.
and
Yeah,
Morpheus.
yeah.
giving
No,
us the
it's
blue pill.
his character was basically a guy that wanted revenge on Dr. Hank for firing him earlier in their career when they worked together.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And then he walks out of the shadows when they infiltrate her house, trying to steal the quantum
The quantum technology.
that had got stolen from them. And his
Yeah, I felt.
character, I mean, he was pretty wasted as well. They had Lauren Fishburne and
Yeah,
Walter
they definitely
Goggins.
threw his character away.
They made him seem like a guy that he basically steps to the side next to Ghost character, and she says basically makes him feel bad for trying
Hmm.
to help both sides almost.
Yeah.
Doesn't want her to die, but feels bad when she kind of pushes too far, so she breaks away from him. And then the way they made Fishburne's character, he's just there as well.
It was a
he
waste.
he's so conflicted within himself that it just kind of you just really forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, Pim Pim has a reputation for being a dumbass and like very stubborn. So I mean, we're kind of, I mean, I don't know. We're just meeting a whole bunch of his past coming together. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It was just kind of sloppy. I didn't like
Hmm.
our villains. I don't know.
And that's something Marvel tends to have an issue with is, weaker villains and their motivations and how
I mean,
well it logically makes sense within the story and stuff.
she wasn't
Um,
much of a villain, anyways. She was just trying to stay alive, and she needed the technology. I mean, she just needed help. But
yeah, it's interesting because it it makes your heroes struggle in the process of getting to their goal, and then they have this character
hmm
with a because she's not truly trying to harm anyone. She's just trying to live in the
Hmm.
end
yeah,
of it. It's not like she's Thanos or Ultron and gonna destroy the planet and all these people. And
Yeah.
typical villain motivations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was so funny seeing T.I.'s character in here. Was he in the first one? I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
it's so
was.
funny seeing T.I.
I hadn't seen him in a long time.
He wasn't bad, honestly. I mean, he was a if he was a funny character in this movie, I mean, he did what he was supposed to do, and it was fine.
His
um,
his his stories are really funny when he's like, "So I heard that from this guy, this guy."
yeah,
I love
Ti,
that.
and
I
then
love that dude.
Ti, and then the Russian guy. I think
Yeah,
his name was it Paxton?
I think so.
No, it
I think
wasn't
so. What was
Paxton.
his name?
That sounds like a really non-convincing Russian accent to me, but I mean, I don't I don't live in Russia, so I wouldn't know. But
I was gonna
just
say.
the
The-
sounds
I'm getting a
fake.
whole bunch of emails saying they take offense to that. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, for real.
No, and then Michael Pena.
hmm
I know they kind of
Comic
toned.
relief, man.
Yeah, big comic relief. I mean, I
I
guess this
loved it.
entire movie is comic relief
Michael
for the
Pena.
I
MCU,
loved
right?
it.
But
It was funny though. It was
No,
funny.
he's great. Yeah.
see, in certain movies like this, right? I've never read the Ant-Man comic book, but there's obvious comic relief scenarios for not all movies, of course, but like action movies, adventure
hmm
movies, that it's perfect for a certain moment
Yeah.
and not a serious moment, right? Like in this movie, for example, Michael Pena and his squad are an example of a good comic relief team, I guess.
Mm,
Um, Something's going down. Serious Paul Rudd and Wasp are in this heavy scenario fighting ghosts, and then Michael Pena and his squad are showing up. We're on our way, and then they pull up all funny and stuff. And I think in those scenarios it can work. But when the entire movie is kind of set on being really funny constantly
hmm
and then acting like it has a very serious thing to worry about in the process, it kind of waters down everything for me. And it really hinders the stakes and how immediate they feel throughout the movie. But you want to throw
Yeah.
anything else in there, Cruz?
Again, we're coming back to the comic relief, and yeah, I mean, Michael Pena, believe me, was comic relief incarnate. But like I enjoyed it, man. I don't know. You guys can say it all you want, but I thought it was perfect. I thought it was a good balance. It was a good balance of comedy and action because I mean, at the end of the day, we go to a movie theater to be impressed, man. And I thought their CGs with all the moving back and forth between regular size, big size, and small
Him
size
turning
was
into like a 4-year-old.
yeah, man. It was funny.
That was good.
It kind of reminded me that scene reminded me of Deadpool, like the
Oh
little
yeah, when he lost his
yeah. I
leg.
thought it was
Yeah.
hilarious, but I enjoyed it, man. I thought the story was good to the Ant-Man universe. I'm not trying to make another universe here, but his story, what he's got going on, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that school scene, for example, it was very funny. It really resembles or mirrors almost the scene in Deadpool.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's a good moment in a movie. I just personally really don't think movies need every 15 minutes there's some type of comedy. It just throws everything off for me.
Yeah,
Um,
you just feel like there was too much.
and I mean, you even see that in Infinity War, and I just think Infinity War could have really been a major step in seriousness for the MCU, and then stepping off from that point.
hmm
Well, the thing is, like, the Marvel universe has a lot of silly characters.
But
Like,
do they though?
you know,
Shots fired.
they have like a lot of immature type characters, like uh you know some of the people from what's it called? What's that? From
Guardians
the
of the
Guardians
Galaxy.
of the Galaxy. Yeah, some of the people from Guardians of the Galaxy are really silly, and and Spider-Man is really silly. Ant-Man's really silly. They're just like, and then some of them are just like straight up a-holes, like Tony Stark's character, Tony Stark, and
Yeah, they're all. It's very diverse, but we know who we're
yeah,
watching. That's why we have favorite superheroes, you know.
yeah.
And believe me, you guys are gonna get your fill when you see Venom, and you're gonna be like, "This is too serious." When he's eating someone's face off.
But that's not the MCU. And if it was
I,
the MCU, I'm sure we would have gotten some
Been shook.
unnecessary
comedy,
it's slobbering time or some BS joke.
dude. Okay, that's gotta be one for the books. It's slobbering
It's
time.
slobbering time.
That sounds pretty good.
I don't know. It's just for there's funny characters, and if there's gonna be funny characters, it needs to be specific ones, not ones that they feel that they need to be funny but are meant to be serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, it's kind of obviously it's not gonna go away. This is now a part of Marvel's formula that they obviously see a success in with all their
Well,
movies now, and
it comes back to what we're watching. I mean, we're watching guys run around in costumes, man. I mean, they're trying to make sure this stays alive. They're trying to appeal to kids because kids are going to be the ones who are going to pay their bills with toys and all that stuff. So they have to do it. That's why that formula works. You know what I mean? You got to think of it from that standpoint.
Well, of course, but I mean, toys could sell on their own whether they go see the movie or not.
Yeah, but it's more relatable, It's just, they're funny. There's jokes, Like it just can't all be serious.
I feel like they'll make, and like I mean, it'll have a lot more benefits to them as like a studio if they're catering to all ages on their audience. Instead of making a rated R Captain America movie, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they got to pepper in a little bit of everything.
Yeah, because they want the adults to stay and like it, but they also want the kids to stay and like it, and they want the adults to take their kids, to have like a family outing.
Well, sure, but then I mean, for the adults that go watch the movies with no kids, it's like, all right.
We got DC, bro. We got DC for them.
No, yeah. I think their movies are a little over seasoned. You mentioned they're peppering it in there.
Yeah, pepper it in there.
They're over seasoned with jokes, and again, they make the money, they get the good ratings for it. They aren't technically, arguably, making quote unquote bad movies, but in most cases, they just stand as comic book movies that were funny, and the reason for that, or end result of that, is people like it. I don't know. It's very interesting what they're doing. Was there any kind of scene that, I know this is obviously a common in movie, I think we already even might have spoke about it, but a standout scene for this movie?
I like when they go to the quantum realm. I like that stuff, especially that last post-credit scene. That was...
Dude, I gotta say, yeah, that's probably one of the best post-credit scenes I've seen, honestly.
Like, I want to know what like, I really wanted to know what happened right after that, and I knew I wasn't going to find out.
I know, we're going to have to wait, and that's what sucks.
Yeah.
Damn it.
That last scene was nuts. I was like, wait a minute. Now is he gonna have those kind of powers? Like,
we're gonna see
Ant-Man did, like
Ant-Man Part 3, and then it's gonna be another. We need to get him out of the quantum zone.
I think he's gonna find a way out. That's what I think.
So my prediction is, I think the friend he made in Ghost, she's gonna come check on them. Get him out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Either that or Lawrence Fishburne.
He's gonna put on the Ant-Man suit.
He's gonna take the blue pill, bro, and he's gonna get back in the Matrix or something.
He's gonna go too far in the quantum, and he's gonna end up back in the Matrix.
No, he goes through a time loop, ends up in the Matrix realm, and then meets Morpheus, who was the other doctor in the other world. I don't know, something weird's gonna happen.
Huge crossovers.
He's gonna bring Keanu Reeves back.
And then it's gonna ask if that's Neo, and that's gonna be John Wick instead.
John Wick to the Marvel universe, please.
No, please no. That would be terrible for the John Wick series. John Wick skin in Fortnite. That's what it's gonna end up like. That post credit scene, it's interesting. Who else is capable of going to the? I mean, obviously they now have the technology and that ship that allows them to go in the quantum zone now. So at that point, it's not too hard to go save him. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
they just need to have the proper setup to get ready to go rescue him. So anyone could really go rescue him. Just because if the human Dr. Hank can go in there, you just need the proper gear for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing about it though is how they're gonna find out that's him in the quantum zone. They're gonna have to assume he's in there because if they go to the all these people are now in the we'll call it the upside down. They're in the different world that they got snapped into.
Yeah.
So
I
they're
don't
not
think
who's
I don't think anyone's gonna rescue them. I don't know what's gonna happen. I really really want to know. And
Probably
I'm
gonna wait
sure the
another 2 years.
comics would explain a little bit, but I don't really want to spoil it at this point. I mean, it's too late for that. I like watching the movie more than I like
like going in knowing what's gonna
going
happen.
in knowing it's gonna happen exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been wanting to read the Infinity Gauntlet, but then I shy away from it just because I don't really want to I guess spoil it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Obviously we know most characters die and I hope they end up going through with that in the
Yeah.
second part. If anyone dies though, who do y'all want to see die?
I think they're all gonna come back. To be honest,
Honestly, yeah, probably. I feel like it's gonna come that way.
and they're all gonna beat Thanos. That's how it works. They're gonna call
Why
the
don't you just
Justice
go the
League.
total opposite, bro? Marvel releases a press release just like you want a DC, here's DC.
There's
Wipe
gonna
everything
have
out.
to be someone die. A lot of these people's contracts or just personally they want to step away from these comic book movies. Obviously the checks are nice enough for them to maybe rethink that, but as an actor, not myself but them speaking, you want to do, more serious roles that just like anyone would like to eventually receive an award or recognition for, but as far as in the MCU, I mean, it would honestly be a disservice to the fans as well as just storytelling wise if there's no loss in the process of defeating this world killer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If anyone for me would have to die, I think it would be time, obviously, for Iron Man to pass the gauntlet to someone else. Captain
Spider-Man.
America.
Iron
Spider-Man
Spider.
next in
Maybe
the
it's a
Avengers.
foreshadowing.
Well, Spider-Man's movie's title got released, and it's called Spider-Man Far, Far Away from Home, or Far, Far Away from Home, or something like that.
Jeez.
Now is that after?
Yeah, after his death, like is he still alive
Is that
somewhere?
after? Or is it before?
So I don't think they have a release date on it, but I'm assuming if it's far, far away
Assuming
from
it's
home, it's gonna be in the world he's in. But then that wouldn't make sense because it would just be an Avengers movie with all the other characters in it.
maybe it's him in death.
It's called Spider-Man Far From Home, and it's set to release in July 5th, 2019. I think that will be before Infinity War Part 2.
Mm.
And if it is, we're going to be getting Captain Marvel, Spider-Man before that movie.
I don't know how I feel about Captain Marvel.
Dude, I'm ready. I think she's gonna do a good job.
So it's the female one, not the male.
I know it's kind of weird,
Well, I
right?
think they've done
I
away
have to
from the
look it
male
up.
one a long time
Yeah.
ago.
Long time ago.
We're going to be getting the real Captain Marvel next year, which is Shazam. But that's a
Yes,
different
sir.
story.
I can't. Oh,
I
you know
can't
how
wait for that
Shazam
one.
got his
That's my
powers?
hero, dude.
I love Shazam.
Is it? You like?
Yeah, I love that one, dude.
I didn't know y'all both liked them.
Hell yeah, dude. Shazam's my dude.
Yeah, it's a very cool. Without creating a DC Marvel versus, yeah, I think Shazam's story is very cool. Foster home kid, and
Literally walks
able.
into an alley and an old man's like, "You want powers, kid?"
Exactly.
And then
You want
shocks
candy?
him.
I got the power starts playing in the background.
I have
Dun,
the
dun.
power.
But yeah, that's gonna be a cool movie. I can't wait. Very excited.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but yeah, Captain Marvel's character, she's supposed to be a big part as far as allowing them to defeat Thanos. The power scaling is already all over the place in
Mhm.
the MCU. We saw that in Infinity War, how Thor's axe was capable of going through Thanos' laser, and Captain America holding off Thanos' punch. It's all over the place now, so I think they're gonna make Captain Marvel like a Superman style character.
Mhm.
Think.
I think so. She's gonna be very powerful. Um, there's a lot of characters that are missing from the Infinity Gauntlet fight, like the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. So they have to make it up somehow and get that
Yep.
one character that's gonna give them that advantage over the Avengers. I mean, over Thanos. And even at that, we didn't even see all the Avengers fighting Thanos all at once. So part two will be interesting. If the first one couldn't defeat him, they're obviously gonna have to defeat him in the second one, and then we'll see how that
Mhm.
goes. They're basically almost done filming it, I believe. I think they filmed it right after the first part, so kind of
Yeah.
like the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that will be the ending of the third phase, I believe, of the MCU, and then after that's gonna be interesting because if they do decide to get rid of characters, what they do with their next phase is going to be interesting. Do they introduce the X-Men now that they're going to be under the MCU wing? How are they going to keep the momentum after some of their iconic characters pass away? It's going to be interesting.
Think they're gonna bring DC boys into this one. The Justice League movie is gonna be about half their friends disappearing.
DC joins them to
Jesus.
help them out. If there's any movies that they kind of release in the future, what kind of characters would you like to see from the MCU get their own kind of story told or
Um,
sequels?
hmm.
I think, and that's the thing with Marvel. Other than the X-Men, which I think are better than the Avengers,
Yeah, dude.
we've
Their
already
story's way
seen a
better.
lot of the Avengers' iconic characters, which is now Spider-Man, Cap, the Hulk. If anything, I mean, a Hulk movie would have been really cool. We've already technically got that in the
There's like
first one.
there's like
We've got a
there,
few.
there's like 50 Hulk movies out.
Well, they had that TV
Ranging
show, and
from
then those
all the old
two.
ones, and
I
then
mean, same thing with Spider-Man.
that's true.
But
Um,
Hulk's been done a few times, man. I thought the Ed Norton one was better though.
I mean, how many Spider-Man movies have we had? We had those three,
We've had Tobey Maguire,
Toby,
we've had Garfield,
Field,
There's
and
and
now we
then
7,
we've
have
I
had
think,
we now have the
because we
Holland.
had we had
Holland.
2 Garfield movies and 3 Tobey Maguire movies, so that's 6 movies so far.
Yeah.
Jeez, we got a lot of people doing this, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I could think that says a lot about comic book movies, but people love them, and as a in the pop culture world, I don't think the end of comic book movies is anywhere near its end. There's
No,
obviously
So,
not until they're done with the story.
well, yeah, we'll definitely be seeing them for a very long time.
so I was gonna throw a question out there. As far as female roles go in the Marvel universe, what do you think about Evangeline Lilly? Like, is she a strong female character? I mean, we've had to work with,
Well,
Scarlet Witch, and we've had, Black Widow. Like, what do you think her joining the ranks?
no, I definitely thought she played a great role. Like I mentioned, I thought it was very balanced between the two.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't
that's what I'm saying.
think.
She's joining the ranks of heroes for women. So I was just kind of curious.
Oh,
Didn't she?
definitely, dude. I think she. If I had to pick between her and Black Widow, I'm picking
Yeah,
Wasp.
yeah, I'm thinking Wasp.
Uh, I
But she
think
disappeared though, right? She's gone.
she went rogue.
Oh yeah, that's right. She's gone. Is she gone? Yeah, she got
Yeah,
disappeared.
she's gone. Yeah.
I think Scarlet Witch though is still a very cool
Oh yeah.
character. She's very
Mhm.
strong. She's obviously
But she's gone now too, right?
yeah, she's gone
Yeah,
now as well. But Scarlet
dead
Witch
and
character is
gone.
definitely a big key to defeating Thanos, as we saw. She was capable of protecting them as well as mind controlling him. So,
Yeah.
along with Mantis.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting where they go with these movies. They won't be at Comic-Con this year, so no real announcements from them in a week from now.
God, dude, I hate waiting this damn long. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
50 by the time everything gets played out.
Big announcements from DC coming up next week, though. They're gonna have to really put a foot down and establish themselves as they recuperate from the mess that Justice League was. They've obviously haven't been having the biggest success with their movies, but I think they've kind of cleaned out a lot of their management, and I think they're gonna be in the right step right after Aquaman. I mean, we have Aquaman, and then we will have Shazam, and then Wonder Woman 2. So we'll see where that goes, but without turning this Marvel discussion into a DC discussion, was there anything else that you want to add?
I mean, I think it's a good movie if you want to take the family. A little bit of comedy peppered in, so don't shy away from it.
It's not peppered, over seasoned.
But I knew he was gonna come at that. But it's a good movie, worth seeing. So if you got some extra shingles, go ahead and check it out.
It's definitely one of those fillers, like Andrew said. Honestly, it's just there to keep the momentum going for the MCU, so they can carry it over into next year to keep the conversation going of what's gonna happen in the part 2.
Yeah.
And
what do you think about the Marvel taking DC's, Morpheus? Like, what do you think they're gonna try to?
Well, the thing about that, I think he's just
actors?
playing the. I think Lawrence Fishburne's just playing the game as far as wherever the checks are. Only because there definitely will be a Man of Steel 2. There's no doubt about that.
And the other thing, he said he was Goliath. If you look in, I don't know if anyone's done the research, but Goliath in Marvel was that dude who could get really big. Didn't he start the whole conflict? Didn't he die in the original book? I'm trying to think if I remember it right, but he was killed trying to save somebody, and those teenagers. It was with the mutants. I forgot. He had something to do with the conflict with Civil War.
I honestly do not remember.
Yeah, I'd have to dig deep in that, but I was thinking about that the other day.
Yeah, they did establish his character as that, and kind of reminded me of like in Homecoming, where they were at the end in the post-credit sequence, all the burglars ended up being some of the characters that are going to be some of Spider-Man's villains in the future. I think that's what they did with Bill Foster's character. They kind of introduced him, and then if we ever get a part 3 of Ant-Man, or he even pops up in Infinity War, it's going to be interesting to see Lawrence Fishburne in a superhero costume.
Yep, it is him, dude.
You think so?
Yeah, his name was Bill Foster, Dr. Bill Foster, also known as Black Goliath.
Oh, no.
The second giant man. Yeah, from what I remember, I believe he was killed by these teenage mutants who were or something had happened. I forgot. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, I think he was dead, and then it started off that the Civil War.
Oh, badass.
Yeah, I'd have to look into it. Sorry for the sketchy reminiscing of my old comic book reading.
Not the worst. But yeah, I think that would do it for this movie. Where can they find you on the social media, Cruz?
Well, you guys can always hit up my Twitter at Cruiser6112. Just drop me a line. Let me know any kind of movies we want to review or anything like that.
What about you, Andrew?
You can't find me anywhere. I am off the grid. I'm a
There
ghost.
He's ghost. Well, there you go. If you want to reach him, you can send him a letter via USPS. He will receive it in 2 to 3 weeks. You can find me on Twitter at VideoJosue. You can now find the Entry for One podcast on Spotify, as well as Apple Podcasts and Google Play Music. You can follow us on social media on Twitter and Instagram at Entry for One. Thank you for listening.